I'm Ross Bolch from Cosmic Crucible Studio, and today I just actually kind of briefly wanted to talk about the new set of plugins, I guess, from United Audio, but specifically the Lion one. And the reason for that is I've never owned a proper Plexi. I've owned a JCM 2000 back in the day, which kind of got there, but it isn't this, right? And even though I've never owned one and I've never played a real one, I've never been satisfied with any of the amp sims that claim to be this, like the Plexi, right? This classic Plexi model. And I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe they're just difficult to model. They are obviously a bit lower gain. And I find that clean amps and high gain amps have always been a bit on the easier side in terms of amp sims, and especially just me being satisfied with playing with them. But the more in that mid gain can be edge of breakup thing, it's always I've found harder. And I wanted to talk about the Lion in particular because this one really satisfies me. And this isn't really like a review. This isn't an in-depth look. I just kind of wanted to talk about it briefly and compare it to a really good NAM profile of the Friedman Plexi, because what I've found is that through profiling my own gear, I really trust NAM profiles. And even though I've never played a real Plexi, I think comparing it to this NAM profile is a great way, I think, to showcase just how good this plugin sounds and my overall sort of thoughts on it and whether you should get it as well. And obviously, I think the first thing we can see is that it does that sort of punk thing really well, right? Like Green Day kind of is kind of famous for using this amp, or this type of amp at least. Like it just has that bite, which is really nice. And I really sort of enjoy the neck pickup. Like I don't normally use the neck pickup a lot on my guitar, but like doing that sort of 60s thing like I did in the intro, like I really like the articulation you get. You get that initial like fuzz almost, right, on the bassier strings. And what I like as well, if you listen closely, you can actually hear the power amp working. You know, that sort of like pew pew kind of noise that EL34/EL84 power amps tend to have. I love that you can hear that in this, which is, I think, one of the harder things to model, like that interaction between the tubes and probably the transformer as well, which is really cool. And yeah, I just love that you get that sort of fuzzy initial part, but then the follow through with the strings is like clear and cleaner. Like that to me is such a beautiful sound. And obviously it kind of does the lead thing nicely, right? Didn't quite play on scale there. My guitar is actually missing a string currently. Could not be bothered to put it back on, so the scale's a bit off. But it does that really nicely. And I think one of the great things is it kind of, if you roll back the volume, I think that just sounds really nice, and it has that classic Marshall clean tone. It reminds me a bit of sort of like the John Frusciante tone, you know? Which I think is great. And then you just bring the volume back up. And then, you know, back to the bridge pickup. And I think what I like about this amp is it sort of has that sense of danger that a cranked Marshall should have, right? Kind of that Motley Crue 80s sort of vibe. And I think this is a really versatile amp sim. It has a couple of other cabs, you know. My opinion, they're fine. They're not like the most versatile feature, and the room tone it's okay. It's kind of generic. But I think you do need a little bit of reverb or room tone for amps like this, because when these kind of amps were being recorded in their heyday, they were a bit more live and in the room. I have a video coming up about that, so keep tuned for that. We're using a free plugin, and I think it sounds great. But what I wanted to do, and actually one thing I do appreciate, you'll notice if we turn off the cab, the room turns off as well automatically. That's awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually use, just for the sake of comparison, GGD Gold Stack, which is a greenback. And I really like this little combination here of a U67, a Royer, and a pair of room mics. And we're going to compare it to Neural Amp Modeler. And this is a Matfig, like I said, Friedman Plexi model. And that one sounds like this, if I'm back on the bridge. And if I have to do a slight volume increase on the Lion plugin when it's on direct, because it does lose a bit of volume. But through the same cab, obviously it's a much fairer comparison. So now the Lion. And oh gosh, they're just really close, right? Like this is it's not a Marshall Plexi, but the Friedman Plexis are high quality. And they have slightly different gains. Now let's roll the volume down on this. This is the NAM model. It's maybe slightly cleaner on the rollback, but also I think this profile needs a bit of juice as well, just to get the hair. Obviously, the thing is with NAM is that the input volume can be a little variable, depending on who captured it. Right, and let's go back to the Lion. Like it just has that roar. I'm really impressed with this. And the thing is, I didn't buy this plugin, and for reasons I'm going to go into now, I'm not going to buy it. So it just so happened that UAD sent me an offer for 90 days of the Spark subscription for like 99 cents. And I could not obviously pass up that offer. And so the reason I have this is because I have that Spark trial, basically. And I think here's the thing with this plugin. It is supposed to be $300. We all know that that's probably a price that it's very rarely going to be. $300 is a joke. I mean, there's no reason a single AmpSyn plugin should ever be $300. And even at $150 currently on sale, right, 50% off, I still think that is a bit steep for a plugin of a single amp. And the reason I say that is, let's look at like Tone King Imperial. All of the single amp models from Neural are about $100, right? They're €100, about $100 to $110. That to me is a fair price for a really well-modeled plugin. And don't get me wrong, this is probably the best Plexi I have ever played in terms of amp sims, by far. I think we all knew these plugins were coming, right? Like we all knew that those pedals were basically just plugins in a box. And I really want to recommend this plugin, but I find the price personally a little off-putting. But if you already have Spark, and if I ever get another good deal on the Spark plugins for a while, I'll be really happy with this. And maybe, occasionally UA plugins go on sale for like $75, $50. I think if it drops to $100 or less, I'm definitely buying this. I mean, the thing is, this plugin is obviously tweakable, right? And that's the difference. With NAM, you are stuck with the preferences of the person that captured it. Whereas this plugin obviously has all the dials, it has the bright cap option, it has these different sort of models, and I guess they're just sort of slightly modified circuits, based on various things. And, you can do things like jumping the inputs here, which is awesome. Obviously, you can use the various volume things as well. Like I could get this to really fuzzy if we just jack up the second volume as well. And here's the thing, I'm actually like not a Plexi aficionado. Like I mostly play high gain stuff, so I don't even really properly know how to use this yet. But it sounds awesome. Like I say, I just think the price is a little... some people will just snap this up. I think if you're in the market for this, you just love this sound, maybe $150 isn't too bad for you. I guess to me, it's just comparing it to the market of things that do exist. And obviously, things like NAMM have sort of changed the field a bit, haven't they? Because you can get such great captures for free. Obviously, the Matt Fig pack is a paid pack, but I think they're $20 to $30, and, his pack has a bunch of this stuff here. So a lot of things to choose from. But anyway, those are just my quick thoughts. I just wanted to sort of talk about it because I was really surprised when I played this at how just good it sounds. And I think this will find a place in a lot of people's studios, but, maybe at the right price.